Okay, welcome along to the Gen AI workshop this morning. We're going to get into some basic run-of-the-mill setup inside ChatGPT and Claude, and going to share some slides with you around generative AI, what it is, and maybe the pros and cons of the applications. I'm kind of when it comes to the applications, I'm not selling you on any of these necessarily. There's no affiliations whatsoever. I'm just interested in having a chat with you folks about what tools you're using, how to get the best from them. And I suppose you can think about this as a peer learning type of setup where I certainly don't claim to know everything that goes on, but I'll share what I've learned, and maybe you can share what you've learned, and we can all move along in a positive direction. So thanks for joining me. Let's see, first of all, welcome along, Nigel. A few people will check this recording later on. I wanted to just maybe throw a couple of questions at you if I could first. So this is the first one. What would you like to learn the most from this session today? What do you hope to, what were your anticipations and so on? You just throw in a quick couple of lines there to let me know where your learning needs to be or what you'd like to pick up. That would be helpful. Just going to leave that live there. If you could just enter your answer. As I said, we're going to get into ChatGPT and Claude, mainly around settings, and talk a little bit about privacy and also custom instructions around using generative AI. So I'll tell you what I'll do now. I'll get the slides going. So this lesson comes from the Gen AI Starter free course that I have on the community page, which I'll share with you a little bit later on. And all members can get access to the full course. It gives us a nice foundation for working with generative AI tools. So a little bit about myself, first of all, and the Gen AI Academy. So I'm a lecturer in organizational psychology. I'm a working organizational psychologist. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a computer scientist. So you should know that up front. My technical background is from engineering and electrical and mechanical systems, home automation, audiovisual systems, programming, systems integration, and so forth. So I've always had a love and a keen interest in technology. So I love what some of these tools are able to do for us. I started the Gen AI Skills Academy as a learning space for us to share some ideas and experience around using AI. In this academy space, you don't need to be an expert. I hope to maybe share some practical skills that can help you improve your efficiency and your productivity in work. Here's where you can get me. I'm at 13 Fade Street, Dublin 2. I'm on LinkedIn, Larry G. McGuire, and these slides I'll share with you a little bit later on, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn later. Okay. So what we'll learn today, or what we'll go through in these slides, and then we'll move on to some practical hands-on stuff. We'll just have a quick look at where you can get more learner resources. And we'll be trying to answer the question, what is a neural network? Following on from that, what is generative AI? How does it work? How does it operate? What is an agent? And we'll have a quick chat about the good and the bad of AI, where are the pros and cons. Try and get in underneath the hype, both the positive and negative hype around AI. And then we'll get into the practical stuff. The learner resources, as I mentioned earlier, they are on the Gen AI Skills Academy. You can get research papers, templates, prompt frameworks, and so forth. And I'll show you where they are in a little bit. So let's try and answer the question, what is a neural network? It helps to kind of form a basis of understanding around how these things work. They're remarkably fast, incredibly efficient in providing answers, but they're not always accurate. Even this illustration here can't really capture what they are. They're basically a combination of hardware and software. And think about it as a mesh network where every node on the network, or every point illustrated here with the purple dots, purple and blue dots, every point or intersection communicates with every other point or section on the network. And these are vast. These connection points or parameters can go into the billions and even trillions now. So they're remarkably large systems and incredibly expensive to run and to train. Some would suggest it costs up to $1 billion to run a training run on one of these networks. And so how they operate is you continually feed them with information, whether they're text documents, spreadsheets, text from the internet, mathematical equations, images, music, so forth. You feed it continually with this training data, and it then processes this data in ones and zeros and numbers, basically number format, and decides what weight to give a particular piece of data. It often gets things wrong, but continually training the model on the same data over and over, it begins to recognize and correct itself. That's in shorthand. MIT do a nice job of explaining neural networks at that link. Again, it'll be available for you in the slides that I'll share later on. So we have to ask ourselves, are they under our control? When we don't know how they do what they do, and that's the truth of the matter, which is remarkable, actually. Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, one of the famed initiators of programs in the United States. In fact, Canada is where he worked because he couldn't get funding for his work on AI. Now everybody's throwing money at this technology. So he claimed recently that we don't know how they work. We don't fully understand how they do those things, and so we should be very cautious about how we employ them. And perhaps a valid statement. Some would argue against him. He reckons that these machines, these neural networks, can become conscious. I have a particular problem with that, but from a consciousness point of view, but we won't get into that today. So what is generative AI in itself? Well, these are statistical predictive machines. They use algorithms, they use statistical analysis to literally weigh up whether the answer to a question is A, B, or C, for example. And those weighted calculations then provide a solution or an outcome. It predicts the next word in a sentence based on the vast amount of data upon which it has been trained. And it's actually quite well known right now that these models are running out of data upon which to train them. So it's kind of presents a problem. So it generates a response based on what it has previously been exposed to. And that's important to remember because it doesn't necessarily create anything new. It uses the information it has already been trained upon. Applications like ChatGPT, Gemini, Google Gemini, DeepSeek, Claude, Manus, and Meta's Llama, and X's or Elon Musk's Grok model. There are thousands, if not tens of thousands of models available. So can we trust and should we trust what they provide us? Well, if your job depends on it, maybe you shouldn't. And you must have some way of verifying the information that it gives you. And whether that's using another model or whether it's using your own prior experience and knowledge, you must find a way to validate what it's providing you. I've often found that the models will invent references, invent facts, and be quite sycophantic in how it responds. In other words, it just wants to please you in terms of its responses. So that can be problematic, especially if you're going to trust the output of the AI. Gary Marcus is a staunch critic of these models. He's particularly passionate about going after OpenAI and Sam Altman. He suggests that these models can be used to manipulate popular opinion and so forth, and this can be problematic. So how does it work? Well, it works in layers, as I mentioned before. The generative AI uses these layers in a hyper-fast manner, somewhat like cognitive intelligence, like human cognitive intelligence. System one, you might say, in psychology terms. The user interface is the software layer. So when you log in and you access ChatGPT, you're interacting with a software layer. You're not interacting directly with the LLM. So it's important to know that. So it takes your inputs, your text inputs, or your images, or your documents, and then processes them, saves them somewhere on a server, and passes them on, your query on, to the LLM. The LLM then responds based on its training, not based on what it knows per se. So there are layers, as illustrated here, layers of software and hardware, and the surface layer being ChatGPT interface in your browser or the app on your phone. So how does it work? Well, a flow might look like this. You enter your prompt. The prompt uses what's referred to as an API call, so essentially a communication protocol between applications to pass the information and check through moderation that this is a legitimate query. It's not a bot running to grab information from a user's account or whatever. The LLM then processes that query, it responds to the query, and then it's sent back to display on the user interface, ChatGPT or Claude, whatever that happens to be. Your data, although I'm quite skeptical, and I think it serves us to be skeptical when we use these tools, the models will offer you a setting by which to share your your chats and so forth in order to train the model. You can choose to turn that on or off, and we'll have a look at that in a little bit. The LLMs will use your data. I'm pretty convinced of this, and you should take that as your default position. The LLM will use your data to train the model. Also, your chats are saved. Again, this is in the settings, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So be careful what you decide to upload and to request of the LLM. Especially so when you're using third-party applications that are linked in with ChatGPT's API, they will save your data. Third-party apps would be, for example, InVideo.io, which is an AI video generation tool, and they have a GPT inside ChatGPT. So your data will go back and forth. You need to be wary of that. And all of this data is saved on servers. So although the LLM doesn't work on a server, well, it doesn't save your information. The LLM itself, it doesn't save your information on the server. Your data will be saved somewhere at one point, at some layer in the process, some point in the process, your data will be saved. So remember that when you share your stuff. So what is an agent? Well, Michael Woodridge and Nick Jennings, researchers in this area, suggest that an AI agent has a couple of elements to it in order for it to be an agent. One of those is autonomy. It has to operate without your direct intervention. So you don't need to intervene in its process. It has the ability to interact socially with other human beings or indeed other agents. So it acts on your behalf based on the instructions that you provided. And then it can react to circumstances in the environment, in the email environment or the CRM package you happen to be using, and make a decision based on what it perceives. And then it can be proactive in terms of pursuing goals that you set for it. So an agent process might look like this, for example. Customer sends an email to your organization. Your agentic AI that's running on your email inbox identifies this email through keywords and so forth. It may add this query to the CRM package. It may evaluate the nature of the query and choose a way to respond to the client, to the customer, based on, again, on its training data, and then initiate a return. Let's say it was they were seeking reimbursement for a product or returning a product. The AI agent can do all of this on your behalf. Previously, this was all very human-centric. And you do lose something in this when you're using AIs for this, and it will get things wrong. So be aware of that. The pros and cons of this technology. There's buckets of research identifying the issues that and the benefits that are available to us. Some would suggest it will create trillions in the global economy. Well, we'll have to wait and see. There's some talk of a bubble in AI. That can be problematic. Can improve efficiency, analyze customer data, as in the previous example. It may enhance our ability to assess risk in the workplace, help manage people at work. For example, you're hiring people, you need to get 100 people in. Maybe it's the Christmas rush. We need to get CVs. Well, then your AI can filter CVs. And this has been around for a while. So when you apply for a job, be aware that you mightn't get it, or mightn't get called for an interview based on filtering by an AI. Can identify anomalies in data. That's really where the power is with these applications, it seems to me. Improvements in treatment and medical treatment and care for people, possibly. Langer and Landers report these benefits. The downsides, O'Neill suggests we may be at the mercy of the algorithm. So in that paper, she suggests that algorithms can be taken from one particular application and applied to another without any foresight or without any due diligence, and that can be problematic. There's a de-skilling of teachers as a result of AI. There's an increasing cognitive offloading. Human beings offload our thinking skills to technology such as Google and these Google search, and such as these AIs, and we're thinking less. Our ability to make decisions is being affected. AI is replacing human beings at work and will continue to do so. Some industries are affected more. Hurler 2023 writes about this. Chomsky refers to ChatGPT and other generative AIs as high-tech plagiarism, and I don't think I can argue with him there. There are risks to human rights. Their bias is inherent in the AIs, and that's problematic, which has been also exposed. It reflects the worldview of creators. Is there a bubble? Last couple of slides, and then we'll get on to the practical work. Well, there's plenty of reports that there is a bubble forming, and it can be catastrophic, potentially be catastrophic if it bursts, if and when it does. So be wary about where you're putting your pension funds. Meredith Whittaker, president of Signal, co-founder of AI Now Institute, suggests that we're in a bubble. With $1 billion spent on a training run, that's problematic. So plenty of pros, but there's also cons in this process. Some other things that we'll cover in future workshops. Some of these applications. I'll talk more about the Gen AI Academy at the end of the session, and I'll post a link where you can join me there for more free tutorials and so forth. All the research papers used in this slide deck are here, and I'll share these with you later on. Okay, so just wanted to get that out of the road. Nigel, I just have another question for you here. If you could let me know, this helps me understand a little bit about how people are using these apps. So what AI tools are you using? ChatGPT, Claude, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini, Perplexity, Manus. These are just a select few here. DeepSeek, Notion. Let me know which ones you're using. Good stuff. That's great. And then final question for you. Can you let me know what your level of usage is with these apps. Is it daily, once or twice a week, a few times a month, not at all currently?
I'm not seeing that poll there, Larry,
Or
but
you're
I
not
can
seeing
answer in person anyway. It's daily.
your daily usage? Yeah. Okay. Okay, not to worry. I don't know why that's not showing up. All right. So what I wanted to get into now was a little bit on the setup. Have you guys set up inside your ChatGPT and Claude? Have you gone into the settings? Have you worked with the privacy options and so forth inside ChatGPT and Claude?
Yeah, we've looked at different settings in relation to privacy.
Yeah. So just for the benefit of others watching, just going to share this screen. Okay, should be able to see my ChatGPT account here. So inside ChatGPT, when you sign up for an account, whether it's free or the plus version, a quick comment on that. If you're on the free version, you're going to run out of road pretty quickly. Um, when you could be stopped in the middle of a query and so forth and told to come back later on. So you're afforded less compute power than others on paid accounts. So just be aware of that when you're engaging with the AI. Once you have your account set up, you should go in here to your settings and pay some particular attention. So we just walk through these one by one. Okay, so this stuff is pretty kind of surface level. The appearance, accent, color, language. You can edit all of these. Choose the different voices if you want to engage in that way with the AI. So kind of surface level stuff there. Notifications, you can choose how you want to be notified, responded to in terms of tasks and projects. Um, so you can share projects with others and get their input, receive notifications when they've modified those. So go through your notifications and modify them. Inside personalization, this is a setting that you want to pay a little bit of attention to. You're limited here to about 1,500 characters with these particular settings, and you may decide later not to set these up, but I'd recommend that you do. And I suppose be pretty general in terms of what you put in here. So this is essentially how you want the AI to respond. For example, I've asked it to respond in international English because otherwise it responds in US English, and that's just a little irritation for me, especially when I'm writing, and I do a lot of writing. I want the responses to be in UK or international English. I also want responses in academic references in APA 7 and include links to credible sources. Even though I've been specific here and asked it to not invent citations and references, it still insists on doing so. So that's, again, a little bit of an irritation, which has kind of turned me a little bit off ChatGPT. Um, what's your experience with that, Nigel? Have you found that it continually responds in ways that you prefer it not to?
Yeah, there's always a level of cross because there's definitely situations where you'll see that it's even when dealing with something simple like an Excel, kind of crunch some numbers for me, it'll sometimes give back a false answer. So I've just found myself kind of cross-checking a lot of stuff. The vast majority of the time it's okay, but
Yeah,
it's just one or two times where it's not giving you the correct answer. It just the trust is kind of broken then.
big time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So knowing the content, not knowing the nature of the content is important, isn't it? I mean, you're dealing with a large spreadsheet with a lot of data. That can be difficult.
Yeah, and would sometimes use different applications like Google Gemini to maybe cross-reference and do a double check in it. I find that useful sometimes as well.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, I'd be the same myself. You can enter in a little bit about how you want ChatGPT to respond in general terms in this custom instructions box inside personalization. I generally use ChatGPT and Claude for work. So I've told it what I do, a little bit about me here. Again, you're limited to 1,500 characters, but the aim of these settings is to help the AI be more focused upon how you need it to respond to the work you do. So again, you're limited here on what you can enter, but there are other ways to customize the instructions, which we'll hopefully get into in a little bit. There are other settings down here. Reference save memories. I have that switched on because I want ChatGPT to continue to refer back to how it engaged with me in the past. Chat history, again, I have that turned on for the same reason. And also reference record history. So if there are transcripts and so forth that are used, well, then I wanted to refer to those. In the advanced settings, you'll see various options here. Web search, I have that switched on. Code interpreter switched on. You can experiment with these, switch them on and off for yourself. I'd recommend Canvas. We won't get into Canvas today in a big way at all, but I would recommend you leave that switched on. We'll do that in a later video, in a later session. ChatGPT voice, I have that switched on, although I don't use it very often. Advanced voice switched on, and connector search. Let's ChatGPT automatically search for connected sources. So I have all these switched on. Experiment, that really is the message here. Be willing to experiment with the settings to decide what's best for you. And the longer you engage with the AI, the more likely it will begin to give you answers specific to your needs. Apps and connectors, you can connect your Google accounts here and your GitHub account. If you're into coding, you're probably well ahead of the game. This one I have turned off again, just where I went in here, advanced settings, developer mode. I have this switched off because there are risks to connecting third parties, and I'm not fully happy with how this operates yet. I haven't satisfied myself. So until such time, I have this switched off, until such time as I am. But you can connect your Google Drive, your Gmail, and your calendar and experiment with that, with these features switched on. Schedules, I have no schedules set up. We'll get into that on another occasion. Data controls, improve the model for everyone. I have this switched off because I don't want my conversations, my documents and so forth shared and used to train the model. Whether it does or it doesn't, even with this switched off, is still in question for me, but I'm a little bit of a skeptic. So, and I think it serves us to be a little bit skeptical. Remote browser data, I have that switched on. When you start to get into the more advanced aspects of ChatGPT with using agents and so forth, it can help improve the results, help you get things done, help the apps, the agents get things done. Shared links, you can manage the links here and remove them and so forth as you see fit. These are all from your chats. You can archive your chats and view them in here. I don't believe I've archived any. You can archive all here, delete all chats, export your data. So this is all related to controls. The security bit's important. You can turn on multi-factor authentication. I have it switched off because I just find it a little bit of an irritation. But if you want that extra layer of security, switch that on here. Trusted devices. That's not what I want. Let's go back. Where was I? Okay. Trusted devices. You can sign in with other devices and so forth. Log out of all devices. Right, great. Parental controls, you can add other members of your family and so forth. I'm on a plus account, but it's only single person. It's not a team or an enterprise account. I can add other members here. And then I can manage my account in here. But the important bits really are personalization, apps and connectors, data controls, and security. So spend some time understanding those settings and adjusting them to your needs and preferences. Inside Claude, which is what I want to show you next. I prefer using Claude myself, and inside Claude, I'm going to connect from today. It was giving me a bit of bother earlier on. Okay, let's just do this. So in settings, bottom left-hand corner, once you're inside Claude, there's a similar similar setup. Nigel, you probably adjusted these yourself, similar to me. Again, in here, in general, you'll see name, the area that you operate in. You can change this. The closest work function to what I do is HR, so we leave that in here. These are the custom instructions that I've set, and you'll see these asterisks and hashtags here. This is Markdown language. You're probably familiar with that, Nigel, right? And Claude works well with Markdown. It's very lightweight text and allows applications to read your content easily, and for you to import and export files. So easy to work with than maybe PDFs or Word documents. So these, you get a higher character count or word count for custom instructions inside Claude. These are the instructions that I've given Claude to work with. I have a template for you. Let me share that with you in the chat just here. Stop sharing for a sec. So custom instructions. So just sharing a PDF with you here in the chat. These are custom instructions that I have set. You can adjust these to your own needs and then paste them into Claude. For example, tone and critique. I've outlined how I wanted to respond in that respect. The style, how I wanted to respond again. The domain expertise I wanted to assume. So I'm interested in psychology and organizational behavior. That's what I wanted to focus upon. So you can use the template I just shared with you, modify the contents of that, and paste in here in your custom instructions for Claude. And once you've done that, you can hit save. I'm just going to cancel out of that because I don't want to change it just yet. And you can go back in and edit this at any time in the future. Inside your account, it just allows you to log out. You've got your organizational ID. That's for, it's not needed at the moment, but it's just for connecting third parties and so on. Privacy is important. You can learn how Claude uses your data and how it protects your data. Export, manage your data. Memory preferences, we'll get to that in a second. Location metadata, I don't want Claude accessing my region and so forth, so I have that switched on. And I also have help improve Claude switched off, which means
share the screen. Sorry, share the screen there again.
Oh, sorry about that.
No worries.
I'll go back to the top. I'm not sure if you have you did see this piece, I hope.
Saw all that, yeah.
Yeah, the custom instructions in here. You do get to modify or add additional custom instructions inside projects. Do you guys use projects inside Claude?
No, I'm not so sure if we do.
Okay, I'm going to show you that next because it's a really powerful way to kind of narrow the application's focus upon a specific piece of work that you're doing. So think of it in terms of buckets. So we'll get to that in a sec. Buckets of content that you can get the AI working on. So inside your account, you can log out of all your devices, delete your account. Pretty straightforward. Privacy. Couple of links here to learn more about how Claude protects your data and uses your data. So you can review those in your own time. I suggest you do. Export your data. You can manage your chats and manage your preferences, which we'll get to. Location metadata, I have that switched off. And help improve Claude, I also have that switched off because I'd rather not share my geolocation with the app, although it probably has it already. I'm in a browser and they're keeping yourself completely insulated against those who want to learn from how you operate online is pretty impossible. But nonetheless, I have them switched off. Maybe you'd like to turn them on, and if that's the case, you can test that out. Okay, that's my billing, pretty straightforward. €18 a month for the plus package or for the pro account. I'd recommend it. Usage. So it does limit your usage, and you might find when you're engaged in a chat in Claude that it runs out of road and tells you that you can go no further and you have to start a new chat. Have you ever had that, Nigel?
Yeah, particularly when you're starting to develop new tools, you tend to run out of kind of space or requests quite quickly. So we've been just trying to upgrade our plans and using a plan that kind of suits our needs.
Yeah. So that could be a bit irritating. There's a
Yeah.
way around that. In fact, I might introduce it to that a little bit later before the end of the call, which I'm testing out at the moment. Capabilities, turn on artifacts. Artifacts, I'll show you what they look like in a moment. AI powered artifacts, turn them on as well. Code execution, I have that turned on, but I have switched off allow network egress. So this setting suggests give Claude the Claude network access to install packages and libraries in order to perform advanced data analysis, custom visualizations, etc., etc. But there are risks, again, to third parties. So Claude can go out to a website. If you have this switched on, Claude could go out to a website and a script running on that website can access your information under certain conditions. So be careful about switching that on. I have it switched off. Memory, I have it switched on. I'd recommend you turn it on. Generate memory from chat history. Again, I have that switched on. And here's the memory from recent chats that I've had. And this again helps provide the AI with context. It does this itself. You don't need to do anything here. Once you have this generate memory from chat history, once you have that switched on. Skills, we'll get into in another session. Again, really helpful and powerful way to customize Claude to help it do specific tasks for you. It's nearly a couple of hours in and of itself. So we'll come back to that at a later date. There is one I have switched on here, but we'll get into skills another time. Connectors, again, you can connect your accounts. Funnily enough, my Notion account keeps switching off. I don't know why that is. I have to figure that out. GitHub is connected. You can connect Google Drive, Gmail, Calendar as well, and add a custom connector. And Claude Code, again, that's for another time. But if you're in, you don't need to code to use Claude Code. Have you guys experimented with that, Nigel, at all? Claude Code?
Yeah, we've messed around with it a bit we do some coding in our company here, but we actually use Codex, which is an open AI tool built into Visual Studio. So it's more around the ChatGPT side of the house. But Claude is meant to be very good with coding as well.
It is, and you can use third-party coding tools as well, which is great. So why don't I get into projects? Because this is something that you can use for specific tasks. Tell me a little bit about the work that you do, Nigel. What's your role and what's your company do?
We are a tech provider for the hospitality sector, so we do kind of Wi-Fi systems, TV systems, phone, any tech that you would see in a hotel or a student apartment complex or apartment blocks. That's kind of our main business, and I would be the innovation director. So yeah, we're looking at AI at the moment, obviously, to try and
Mm,
improve kind of just day-to-day tasks that we have within the business, but also trying to improve our products as well.
good stuff. Well, you might like projects. Certainly encourage you to try use these in your work. So, for example, let's see if I can find a good example here. So, in this case, I wanted to explore, this is the AI bubble hypothesis. I wanted to explore uh, what research was saying around the idea of a bubble inside the AI tech industry, right? So let me go back first of all and I'll show you how to start a new project from scratch. So when you create project, you give it a name. So we'll just call it new project. You can give it a description here, a short description that reflects the nature of the project. And create the project. And in here then you have, you can add custom instructions. So these are instructions specifically for this project. So maybe it's a piece of marketing work, or maybe it's a piece of research around a new piece of technology that you want to bring in. Maybe it's market research, whatever it happens to be. Here's where you outline the instructions to the AI on how to respond. I'll show you an example of what that looks like in a sec. And then in here, you can add your files. So if you have, let's say you had product data, product data sheets, like for hardware, you'd purchase and install hardware. Would you, Nigel, in a hotel? Is that what you do, or you sell it on to others?
Yeah, that's mostly it. Like we have vendors that were just kind of reselling their hardware,
Yeah.
typically TVs and
Okay.
Wi-Fi, yeah.
So let's say with TV systems, you have a vast array of product documents related to a particular range of TV systems. You can, for example, add these files in here, upload them, or connect your Google Drive, upload them from your device. So there are limits, but it's pretty hefty. And the AI will only look at these files in relation to its responses, your custom instructions, and then you can begin to engage with it here. So I'll show you an example of what that looks like. Where is that? Oh, then here it is. So this I wanted to explore if there was a bubble in AI. I did some research and I picked up a number of papers on previous bubbles in markets, the nature of AI and so forth, where it is right now. So I found a number of papers that I wanted to use for this little piece of research, and I added them in here to this project. I gave it some custom instructions, pretty brief, but I could elaborate on these. In the custom instructions, I asked it to refer to trusted sources only, not popular websites or speculative media. Give trusted academic sources that are based on historical analysis, etc., etc. So I can elaborate on those instructions if I wanted. And I began some chats with the AI around examining this situation. And you can see on the right hand side here, this is my artifact. So the AI, if I'm not happy with this, I can ask it to edit, and it will edit this document on the right hand side here. I started off by asking it to see the stock bubble investment analysis chat in the document you wrote, confirm you can read it. So what happened here was, remember we were talking about the AI running out of road or compute power. That's what happened here in the first conversation, which is a bit irritating. So it told me that Claude hit the maximum length for this conversation. So I had to start a new one. So I went back into the project and I started a new chat. And my first request was to look at the previous chat in this project and continue the conversation. So it did so, and I asked for some clarification here. Create an artifact, which it did. And the artifact is on the right-hand side of your screen. This is the report, its assessment of whether or not there's a bubble in AI. And it's pretty comprehensive. I'm not finished with this yet, but I can export this, download it. I can add to another project, download it as PDF, or publish to the web as an artifact. So it's a pretty comprehensive. So if I wanted to edit this, if I wanted my Claude AI to improve this document, it would do so on the right-hand side rather than recreating reams of data. And working with projects in this way just helps focus the AI a little bit further. There are many, I do a lot of writing, so there's lots of projects that I will use to create content around things that I'm writing, create Claude MD files and so forth. Do you think that you might use projects, or at least give it a go maybe in your work, Nigel?
Yeah, that's very interesting there. Yeah. I can think of a couple of different things that I would definitely like to try it for. So yeah, very interesting.
I was developing some lectures around leadership. Again, I uploaded a number of files and papers on the topic to the AI, and it created some custom instructions for me. So I don't use Claude generally inside the chats very much. If I have something I want to talk about or ask the AI, I do it inside projects, which is on the left-hand side here. And if you prefer ChatGPT, ChatGPT has projects as well. Just show you quickly how to create a project in ChatGPT. So click on New Project in the left-hand side. You can give it a name. So let's say it's TV systems. Choose an icon and a color. Just helps it stand out a little bit. In here, you've got some settings. So for the memory function, the project can access memories from outside the chats and vice versa, or project only. So I'm going to go project only because I wanted to look only at this project and create the project. So once you're inside the project, up in the top right-hand corner, you'll see here, there are 3 dots. If you click on these 3 dots, you can add custom instructions to this project. So in here, you will, remember at the start, I showed you the 1500 character space to add your custom instructions inside ChatGPT. Those instructions will be general, but in here, you'll be more specific. So you'll want to tell it, how to respond. Now, how I would, as a framework, I would use what I refer to as the GCSE framework, okay? And I'm going to share that with you now in the chat. These frameworks help you structure your prompts. So I'm just going to stop sharing here for a second and get you these 2 prompt frameworks that I have. One is called the APE framework, and the other one is the GCSE framework. And these prompt frameworks will help you structure your prompts a little bit better. So let me go back to my share window. So the GCSE framework stands for goal, context, sources, and well, it's output, expectations. So in this case, what's my goal? Well, TV systems. Well, I don't know. Give me an example. Let's make it practical for you, Nigel. What would be a particular goal for your working with an AI in a particular task? Could you maybe offer an example?
Can we make it something fun?
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm going to Japan on my honeymoon, so I want an itinerary for Japan.
Okay, that's pretty specific. Good stuff. So, what's the context? I am getting married soon. When are you getting married? Let's be specific.
Well, we've already gone through that bit, so it's just the honeymoon now that we're
Oh, okay, sorry, right, yeah.
yeah.
So I am married.
I'm married.
A reason you got married. And you can elaborate on this. The more, okay, so you want to be specific, but not too broad, but give it enough information that it can work with. So you can edit this, you know what I mean, later on. So what sources? Are you giving it sources? What sources do you want it to access in this project?
I guess maybe things like TripAdvisor on or similar kind of
Okay.
travel websites that would have the best kind of places to go. I guess
Trusted travel websites
yeah.
and
uh,
travel blogs.
yeah. I guess it's a 2 week trip as well, so that's probably fairly important for the context as well.
Yeah. You could elaborate on maybe some particular sites that you wanted to see, that you
Yeah.
heard about. You might want it to, um, you know, you can elaborate on that, I suppose. But so sources, trusted travel websites, travel blogs. Are you going to give it any documents? Here's where you would tell it to focus on the documents that you provide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your expectations then, how do you want this? You would usually talk about expectations is generally we would refer to the format and structure of the document, you know?
Yeah.
So bullets, paragraphs, links, and so forth. So what would be your expectations? Do you want a single pager? Do you want it to keep tight? Do you want it broad and comprehensive?
Yeah, I guess for the start, a bullet point kind of day by day itinerary of the locations.
Let's say, are there particular dates you had in mind?
Yeah, we could just say maybe from January 1st to January 14th.
Okay, day by day itinerary include uh, intro, paragraph, bullet points. Uh, let's see what it does with this. Places to eat. Let's say places to eat. Um, tourist sites visit. Okay, will we go with that? Let's see what it produces.
Yep.
So this is your structuring. You're giving it instructions based on the GCSE framework, and you mightn't always want to use this. You might want a single prompt to just test the AI in any given circumstance, and that's okay too. But the more structured you can be, the more focused you can be in prompting, the more likely you are to get better responses. So we'll save those instructions. You can elaborate on those later. How you doing, Maria? Thanks for joining. So we'll maybe edit this. Not really called TV systems, is it? So we'll call it something else. It's a trip to Japan. Okay, so new chat. I'm just going to say, give me a proposed itinerary. Because we've already given it the main prompt in the instructions. It might come back and ask for additional information. No, it goes. So it's come back with a few queries there, budget level, hotel standards, dietary preferences, etc. So use projects is the message here, and it helps you keep all the files, the queries, the chats, etc. For a particular task or project focused that you can return back to later. The problem I have with ChatGPT in general is that you end up with these just reams and reams of chats, which of course you can add to projects later, but the problem is if you use some of these third parties, these third-party GPTs here, you won't be able to add those chats to your projects. For example, do you use GPTs in your work, some of these third-party services, Nigel?
Not in ChatGPT really, maybe just messing around with Canva we probably use it in the marketing department, all right. But for my day-to-day stuff, not really. Just experimentation.
Right. So you're just using the chat function here.
Yeah.
Mainly.
Yeah. 99% of the time for ChatGPT, it's just the chat function, yeah.
So try get into using projects in both Claude and ChatGPT and see if that helps you structure your get better responses, I suppose. You can see here, for example, well, that's not on your chat. Yours is here, the Japan trip. But then your chats will be listed under here as you go along. You can add files. Maybe there's some sources and links that you might want to include. So you can say, open this in Canvas. That should open it in a different format. Get into Canvas another time, but Canvas just allows you to create a document, which it's doing here, that can be edited. So the AI will continue to edit this same document rather than you ending up with reams of chat history that you're trying to remember. Where was that again? Or you're trying, you know what I mean? You have a better structure. So okay, read aloud. So you see the little icon up here in the top right hand corner as a little document icon. Once it's open, once it's ready, you can open it in Canvas. Continue to engage with the AI here on the left hand side. and it will reiterate this same document as per your subsequent chats or requests and so on. So hopefully that's helpful to you. So what we covered in the session today, your settings, your privacy settings and custom instructions inside ChatGPT and Claude. And we also touched on projects, how to use projects to get better results from your AI and help the AI focus on specific tasks. Explore that. Hopefully that was helpful to you, and use the frameworks I dropped into the chat there, the APE framework and the GCSE framework, to help structure your prompts and help get better results again from your AI. Hopefully that was helpful. If I could just let you know where you can find out more. You can get the recording of today's session and get more tutorials on using Claude, ChatGPT, Notion, etc. I'm going to bring it over here. So this is the Gen AI Academy. It's where I'm sharing. It's free, and I'm sharing resources in here and videos and other content on how to get the best for people who out of AI, for people who don't code. So do check that out, and the link is here. And hopefully I'll see it in there. Any thoughts or questions before we wrap it up?
Not from me anyway, Larry. There was I definitely learned a few things there that I'm going to try and mess around with straight away. So
Yeah,
yeah,
good stuff.
yeah, the privacy stuff was interesting. Setting the context inside and the settings was good as well. Definitely going to use that, and using projects.
Yeah,
Structure my chats because my chats are all over the place, and I try and go back and find a particular chat that I was having and trying to add to it, and it's
not working. Yeah,
bit frustrating. So grouping everything in a project definitely seems like the best way of using these chats. So yeah, all good.
good
Sorry.
stuff. And what I want to show you maybe in a future session is the one of the problems with Claude and with ChatGPT is that you can run out of tokens. So tokens are there's essentially only a certain amount of compute power afforded to you in the chats that you have, in the projects that you create, and there are ways to, because the chat window runs out of road, and even ChatGPT and Claude will forget what it's previously provided you with, and forget the nature of your conversation, and then you're like, what's going on, and you have to start again. So that's a bit irritating. No problem, Maria. I'll send you the recording, Maria, after the session's over.
Okay, thanks, Larry.
Incidentally, Maria, is that in particular that you were hoping to learn today, or maybe I can help you with that in a future session?
Would I use more Copilot? But I suppose just to get more information on AI in general, really,
Yes.
and prompts and how best to use it effectively, really.
Okay, well, I'll send you on the link to the recording afterwards, so you can watch back and try some of the stuff that we covered in the session today, right?
Okay, thanks, Larry.
And the real thing is that you get your hands dirty after the session and try these things out.
Yeah.
That's where the real learning is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What else can I say? Yeah, using projects. So there is another way. You're not stuck. You don't have to stay stuck within the ChatGPT application or Claude or Gemini. There's other ways to get the best out of these tools, and I'll show you that in a future session. I'm experimenting all the time, and just like to share this stuff with you. So thanks for taking the time out this morning to join me. Any final thoughts or comments before we wrap things up?
No, thanks, Larry.
All good, Larry. Thank you.
Okay, and feel free to contact me at any point, either through the Gen AI Skills Academy. If you're inside there, you can DM me in there, or indeed email me, or Nigel, if you're connect with me on LinkedIn, message me there. I'm keeping an eye on these platforms anyway. And there's something you want to learn more about, let me know, and we'll get it in the next session.
Sounds good, Larry.
I'm sorry, bye.
Okay, thanks for joining me, folks. See you next
Bye,
time.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.